This is part 2 of a two-part video covering the complete disassembly and reassembly of the Springfield Armory 1911 Range Officer. Begin our reassembly with the bare frame. First step is to insert the trigger, and it'll only go in one way. You can't put it in upside down. Then we want to put in our lock, our mag release. Drop it in, and you push it up and down just as you did when you took it out. Put your screwdriver in, push down on the screw, rotate it clockwise. It snaps right in. Next step is our sear and disconnector. You notice the sear has a couple of little feet on the bottom of it. When you put it on the disconnector, it points up. The disconnector has a flat bottom here, it goes down. Drop the disconnector on top, and the feet of the disconnector should butt right up against the feet of the sear, should butt up against the disconnector. And if you try to put that in, you'll notice there are a lot of open spaces here. So in order to correct that and solve the problem, we just put a mag in there. Covers up all those holes. And you can just drop that right in. It slides right in. You can see it protrudes slightly out of the top. And you want to make sure that as I said, the feet on the sear butt right up against the bottom of the disconnector, and it should go up on the trigger bow about that far. You should holes should be lined up about now. Take a pin punch and make sure those holes are lined up. Drop your pin in. There you go. Next we want to put the hammer in. It pretty well lines up. Drop your pin in. Then flip that hammer spur up, because we're going to put the sear spring back. Notice the sear spring has a lip on the bottom of it. It goes right in this groove on the frame. And when you put this in, make sure that this is down flush in that groove, and the left finger of the spring should fit right on the sear. If it doesn't, the sear is going to be cocked up and you're not going to be able to put your thumb safety in. Now, to hold this spring in place while we put our rest of it back together, we're going to just slide this mainspring housing up on here. Put just enough pressure on it to hold it in place. Now we can take that bag out. We don't need it. Drop that hammer spur down. Now we want to put in our safeties. Our grip safety, as you'll recall, is held on with the thumb safety. And that thumb safety always goes in a lot easier with this hammer down. And first we want to put in our little spring catch. There's a short end to it, and there's a long end. Short end goes in first. Now we'll insert the thumb safety. It'll be about at that angle. Now we got to get that spring catch out of the way. I have what they call a 1080. It's a 1080 Performance armorer tool. This is a very handy tool. If you don't have one of those, you need to get it. It's about handy as a pocket in a little boy's breeches. Just push that up, it snaps right in. There you go. Okay, now we can push that mainspring housing up, and the hammer spur fits down in that in the top of that mainspring. First thing we need to do is bring our hammer up, release the pressure on it. Now we can slide that mainspring housing up. Make sure it goes right in there. There you go. You got a groove in the top of the mainspring housing that fits right under the grip safety. Now put that little ornery pin back in. It was difficult to get out. It's got a round end and it's got a bevel or a dimpled end. Dimpled end goes up. Let's get her started in there. And take your hammer, a couple of taps, and that's right in. Now you can cock your hammer and pull your takedown pin out. Okay, the final step on the frame is to put the grips on. I'll show you how tight you want those. I always start these grip screws with my fingers to make sure that I don't cross thread them. Just snug them both up. Take your thumb and forefinger and just give it about a quarter, not quite a quarter of a turn, just about like that. That's good. Want to go off camera, put the other grip on, and then we'll go to the slide. Okay, our frame's back together. Now we can go to the slide. First thing we want to do is put in the extractor. You'll notice the extractor has a flat side to it. That flat side goes to the inside of the slide, and you need to make sure that's square, otherwise you'll have a little difficulty in getting your firing pin retainer seated in there. Let's take the firing pin, drop it in. The firing pin retainer has a little beveled bottom to it that goes down to the outside. Slide that in. Now let's put this, move that in to rest on the first shoulder of the firing pin, right there. Keep this away from your face. Now take that 1/8 inch punch, push the firing pin on down, move the retainer up till it rests on the firing pin, and you can just snap it right into place. Okay, next is the barrel. With the link forward, put it in the front of the slide. Next, the barrel bushing has a lip on the top of it here, and just drop that in the front of the barrel with the lip up, and rotate that over to where it was in the takedown position. Make sure it's good and flush. Next, we'll put our recoil spring and guide rod in. Now we can put the frame on. And make sure when you're putting the frame on that the hammer's down, because if it's not, you're going to get to position right about here and wonder why it won't go any further. It's because your hammer's down. Okay, push that up. Now we should be able to see that barrel link in there. There you go, it dropped down. See it right in there. Now let's move the slide back to the takedown position. Right there. Let's take our slide lock, drop it in, and see the barrel link is open there. So put pressure, thumb pressure on that, and push up, and it snaps right in. Okay, the next thing we want to do is let's put the slide back up into position, and we want to put our recoil spring plug back in, and we'll use the same process putting it in as we did when we took it out. Push down on it, rotate it over to the shoulder. Now complete your rotation, and it's locked up. Okay, your gun's back together. Let's make sure everything works. Push up the thumb safety. It works. Thumb safety down. Hand off your grip safety. That's fine. Now there you go, it fires. No harm in firing a 1911, dry firing it. I usually put a spent cartridge in there when I practice my dry firing. I'll give you a couple of little tips here. First of all, if you get a blemish on this parkerized finish, take one of those Mr. Clean Magic erasers, put a little bit of rim oil on it, and you can usually rub that blemish out if it's not too deep. Another thing is, when this gun comes, it's got a black sight, and it's difficult to acquire a target against a black background, so put a little bit of white paint on that and it helps a good bit. So that's it. Hope you enjoyed the videos, and shoot safe and shoot straight.